Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we are going to be talking about Ripple and XRP, as was the vast majority of crypto and finance. And I want to dive in, and I want to start off with this tweet here from XRP Darren. He is actually quoting Boy XRP over on Twitter. And we do see Pandora's box has been opened. You could argue if it's a solid, liquid, or gas. However, the MiCA laws are clear and the builders are creating the next wave of the internet. Financial application of crypto is one genre of application. Crypto can be used for any form of mass distributed computing. Nothing stops this train. And we do see down here from Real XRP Boy, either all of this is a psyop from the US government, a cash grab for everyone involved prior to the green light fully regulated, or both. Either way, it's coming, and the US will flip the switch for utility. Ripple XRP is deeply involved behind the scenes, way above SEC pay grade. And check this out.
Possibility, it could turn out that the US changes its position at some point and decides that we have to enable the utility side of this. I don't know. I guess I'm not convinced.
And this is just a little clip. It's 11 seconds long. You can go check out Darren's YouTube channel to watch the whole video. But nonetheless, as we really kind of look at what's happening right now around crypto, specifically on regulations, I think that we are gearing up and getting closer than ever before on having a full-on global regulatory framework for crypto. It might take, some weeks, months, years, we don't know. We do know that the FSB did say the end of 2025. Could that just be a timeline that they threw out there? 100%, we can get it earlier. We don't know. But as we do look at everything around like MiCA, for an example, and what just happened recently with Singapore, I think that we are getting very close. And as we do look at utility itself, mass utilization is not here yet. A lot of people keep on focusing on XRP's price and say, with all these announcements, why isn't XRP going up in price? I want you guys to understand that, we haven't seen mass adoption yet. We haven't seen mass utilization of the technology. We are so damn early. I don't think people realize just how early we are. And also, here you guys have it from Singapore. The Monetary Authority of Singapore finalized stablecoin regulations framework. Shout out to Crypto Eddie for this, but we do see comments from Ripple, SBI, Circle published. Framework aims to use of stablecoins as a credible digital medium of exchange and as a bridge between the fiat and digital asset ecosystems. And I do think that's very interesting that they do mention this as a stablecoin, which we will dive into here in a second. But as we do look at this overall framework, we do see a few things. So the Monetary Authority of Singapore today announced the features of a new regulatory framework that seeks to ensure a high degree of value stability for stablecoins regulated in Singapore. The regulatory framework takes into account feedback received following an October 2022 public consultation. I do think that they might be talking about the IMF and the FSB, their coordination on this. I might be wrong, but we do see stablecoins are digital payment tokens designed to maintain a constant value against one or more specified fiat currencies. When well regulated to preserve such value stability, stablecoins can serve as a trusted medium of exchange to support innovation, including the on-chain purchase and sale of digital assets. The Monetary Authority of Singapore's stablecoin regulatory framework will apply to single currency stablecoins pegged to the Singapore dollar or any G10 currency that are issued in Singapore. Issuers of such SCS will have to fulfill key requirements relating to value stability, capital redemption at par, and of course disclosure. And they do also mention these two down here as well. Only stablecoin issuers that fulfill all requirements under the framework can apply to the Monetary Authority of Singapore for their stablecoins to be recognized and labeled as MAS regulated stablecoins. They do mention a little bit about that here as well. Then, of course, there's a few things down here in terms of the MAS stability or stablecoin, regulatory framework aims to facilitate the use of stablecoins as a credible digital medium of exchange and as a bridge between the fiat and digital asset ecosystems. We encourage SCS issuers who would like their stablecoins recognized as MAS regulated stablecoins to make early preparations for compliance. So it looks like we are starting to see a lot more of these regulatory frameworks rising now and getting announced. Again, I've talked about it, right? Like we are going to see a race towards, regulations on crypto, and it's getting closer and closer than ever before on having full-on regulations. But before we have regulations, remember that we are going to see a wipeout of 99% of this market. And yes, I still believe that that is going to be the case. I think that we are going to see a massive wipeout, and there's only going to be a select few projects. I would argue like maybe 50, 100 projects left over. And you might be wondering, like, Nick, that's a lot of projects. This market right now has well over like 25,000, 26,000 tokens tied to it. Most of them complete trash. When you wipe out most of the garbage, I would argue like 99% of the people that are a part of this space are probably going to get wiped out with it as well. And as we do look at that, like this is something that's coming, right? Like regulations are going to completely shake this entire market up. And it's getting ready, right? Like here's a document from the IMF going all the way back to September 26, 2022. This was regulating the crypto ecosystem, the case of stablecoins and arrangements. Global regulation for stablecoins should be comprehensive, consistent, risk-based, flexible, and focus on the structural features and use. Requirements on stablecoins should cover the entire ecosystem and all its key functions, and there should be additional oversight for systemic stablecoin arrangements. Now, this is a significant document because of the time on it. This was September of 2022. The month later, in October of 2022, the FSB published a review of its high-level recommendations, including how gaps identified could be addressed by existing frameworks considering recent market and policy developments. They did quote the IMF, but this is from July 17th of this year. This is high-level recommendations for the regulation, supervision, and oversight of global stablecoin arrangements. We are starting to see this, becoming a thing, right? Like global stablecoins are rising. Like we are going to see stablecoins being regulated. And one of the biggest things around that is Tether, right? Like is Tether going to, pass the check? We don't know. And we do see the high-level recommendations seek to promote consistent and effective regulation, supervision, and oversight of global stablecoin arrangements across jurisdictions to address the potential financial stability risk they pose both at the domestic and international level, while supporting responsible innovation and providing sufficient flexibility for jurisdictions to implement domestic approaches. Now, also with global stablecoins, it does take me to the idea of XRP or even XLM being stablecoins, which we will talk about here in a second. But also, we know that the FSB, the IMF, and the BIS papers are set to bring in global crypto frameworks. And we know that September, they're releasing their global crypto framework around regulations, of course. We already seen the one in July, which we went over a little bit. But the one in September, I think, is going to be a little bit more significant. And we know that from this article and from what the FSB has said, it seems as though like 2025 is going to be the time frame for, full-on implementation of these frameworks where every single nation needs to comply with them. And it really is heavily focused also on CBDCs as well. So as we do look at that, right, it takes me to the next part of this video, which is XRP and XLM as stablecoins. So here we have from the World Bank document, this is stablecoins for cross-border payment. They do talk about two digital currencies that fall into this category are RippleNet's native digital currency Ripple XRP and Stellar Networks' native cryptocurrency, the Stellar Lumen XLM. Both of these enable faster and more efficient cross-border payments relative to correspondent banking. However, they differ in that the former aims at improving cross-border settlement between international banks, whereas the latter aims at providing low-cost cross-border payment financial services to end users and the unbanked population. Then, of course, any accepted type of currency or asset can be utilized to transact on Ripple network cross-border payments using Ripple Transact using XRP. A digital currency works as a liquidity source whenever it is necessary, besides acting as a bridge between two currencies. XRP, which is an open source blockchain, operates on the interface of peer-to-peer servers. It is supposedly capable of settling a payment within 4 seconds and handling 1,500 transactions per second each transaction, and then they do break it fully down on the significance behind these transactions, costs, and stuff like that. The reason why I bring this up in terms of stablecoins for cross-border payments is because, first off, every single major outline here around global crypto frameworks is heavily focused on global stablecoin arrangements. And even the initial, right, like when we look at this, they're talking about stablecoins being utilized as a bridge between the fiat and digital asset ecosystems. So this is mainly like you buy in USDC, for an example, and then buy an XRP. That's mainly what they are saying here. I look at this as a completely different viewpoint, which is utilizing XRP to settle and bridge anything of value. But also, right, we know that Ripple has been engaged with the IMF in the past. We know that they've been working with them pretty closely for years and years and years. And with that, right, like we know that they probably talked about XRP on multiple occasions. The World Bank document does mention XRP, they mention Ripple, but then we also know that many of the global initiatives that are planning these global crypto frameworks are already also working with Ripple. We know that the BIS is working with Ripple. We know that the IMF has worked with Ripple. They have been planning things and talking to Ripple about, many things in the past. The FSB, we know that they granted Ripple the opportunity to comment on global crypto regulatory frameworks already in December of 2022, while in the middle of the SEC lawsuit. All of this, in my opinion, can get connected right back to Ripple, especially even with the Monetary Authority of Singapore. Does that mean any significance? Not necessarily, but it is still something to mention concerning the fact that almost every single one of these regulatory frameworks are now heavily focused on stablecoins. And it seems as though we are going to start to see stablecoins becoming a big thing, especially in terms of the global outlook of use. I think that that's where the FSB comes into play with the, of course, IMF and the BIS with the G20. It's definitely interesting to see what's happening here, but I would argue that they are preparing these standards. They are preparing, the overall regulations to bring in the technology, implement the technology, and utilize the technology. And even similar to the first tweet here, right? Like where we're talking about MiCA laws, like this is clear, right? It kind of gives us something to build upon. It gives us something to look at. Remember, like everything is already set in motion. Things are moving very fast. Regulations are nearly here. And I want you guys to understand that like the next step is the wipeout. After the wipeout, we see utilization and implementation at mass scale. So as everyone is getting impatient around XRP, I want you guys to understand that you might not see it, but something very big is coming. And what is that? Well, it's global crypto regulations. And once we have that global crypto regulatory framework in place, it's game over. And they're talking about the end of 2025. I've seen a lot of people saying like the end of 2023. I've seen a lot of people saying like the mid to end of 2024. We have no idea, but things are moving very quick. From a lot of the documents that I've seen, it seems like 2023 is huge for a lot of standardization to be put in place. Regulations are definitely getting planned. And as we do look at like the idea of like flip the switch for utility, it really kind of all starts with standardization and regulation. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, notifications on. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Peace out.